Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for an all new episode recap of today's Days of Our Lives, July 28th, 2025. So we started off with Gabby and Tony. So they are, I guess, deciding how they're going to go about taking down the Kyriakis brothers so that Gabby can get her wishes of becoming the mayor's CEO. So, anyways, it hasn't been 24 hours, but Tony wants to run the pavement while it's hot and get the details on, what could have caused the fallout of the brothers because ever since the assault of Philip, Xander and him haven't really been close, and Gabby's witnessing that on a regular basis. So she says something must have happened and somebody knows. So now they need to find out who actually is behind it, right? So Tony was skeptical about Gabby being on board because, again, Gabby was, she has a complicated history with the family. And she said, well, it's about business. It has nothing to do with anything personal. And then she also said that when he asked her about Xander and how Xander was kind to her, and she said, he was kind to me during Ari's kidnapping, but, business is business. And, he got what I want, right? So they shake hands on, figuring out how they're going to take down the brothers and, find the dirt that they need to find. So Kayla and Steve were having lunch, and they're just catching up on their day to day, and they talk about John and how he's really greatly missed. And Steve was talking about how he's packing up the things for Marlena to give her, and he just couldn't get rid of, I guess, what you call it, the abacus. It reminds him so much of how John would fiddle with it. And they talk about Marlena and how she has been through a lot, and everything with the loss of John, and her fainting at Johnny's trial. So it's like a lot going on, right? So anyways, he tells Kayla that she needs to really pace herself given everything going on at the hospital, because she tells him about what's going on, that it's been really hot. EJ has done some budget cuts, cutting down the AC usage, and then also his assistant Rita is cutting back on fresh fruits in the cafeteria, which I don't see any of those making sense, because for one thing, the hospital needs AC, especially in the summer. Right now, it is blazing hot. Imagine to be a patient in a hospital that is blazing hot and there's not proper AC circulation. That would be maddening to me. And also, why not have fresh fruits and vegetables in the cafeteria? Like, isn't it supposed to be a healthy atmosphere? But I don't know. EJ is making some questionable decisions, and it turns out that he's probably not best with the hospital. But again, money talks and BS walks, right? But anyways, he wishes her the best, and he tells her, look, do not overwork yourself and try to come home early. So she said, I'll try my best, right? Because she has a lot of patient files and everything to get back to. Even though it's not the end of her lunchtime, she just still has to go because of her commitment to the work and everything. So Gwen is collecting her last set of luggage to go into the Demare mansion, and she runs into Julie, who really makes it a part of her duty to show off that she has a necklace around her neck. And the look on Gwen's face is priceless. I had to laugh. That's probably the best scene of the day. And Julie is like, looking for this. So she said, I thought you said you didn't steal it. So she said, again, it's not stolen if it belonged to me in the first place. And second of all, I did not do it, right? It was returned to me by somebody who was trying to right their wrongs, right? So if you're trying to get it back or try to report it missing, go ahead and do it. It's a lost cause, right? So she said, you know what, you can keep your gaudy necklace. So she's in her feelings, and she said, you know what, but this isn't over. And she said, like, if you come threaten me or my family, it's gonna be hell to pay. So she said, oh wow, what is gonna happen? I'm not gonna get an ornament on the tree. I'm not gonna have any special donuts down my gut, my trap or something. I don't know what she was saying, these English words. So anyways, they're in there going back and forth, and then Julie's saying that, look, I get what my late aunt did to you by not telling you about your father's job, but look, your beef is not with me. It's really misplaced revenge, right? I don't have nothing to do with it. And I agree with that because as much as I can't stand Julie, she has a point. Gwen is angry with them because of what she thinks that they did to her, when she should be taking that up with Laura, which she already did. She's gone. And also, like, they didn't do nothing to her. Like, they didn't cause her to miss out on a wonderful childhood. None of that, right? She needs to get over that. So anyway, somebody comes in the middle of their argument, and it's the bookkeeper, which I found that completely random because, like, where did he come from all of a sudden? And he tells them, he tells Gwen that, look, I've been hearing you for the last 10 minutes going back and forth, and it's annoying. You need to go where you're going. So it seems as if Julie knows this guy. She's been going to his bookshop all this time. So, she thanks him for, rescuing her. And he's like, what is wrong with that woman? She's like, many things. So she goes into his bookshop, and, apparently he's, knowing her for a long while. They both share something in common, which is they're both widows or widowers. And he's been helpful with giving her a book to help with her grief, and she also wants to do that for somebody who's grieving, which is Marlena. So she tells him more about Marlena's personality, that she's serious, thoughtful. She's a psychiatrist, so she could definitely appreciate a book that is, about grief but not self-helpy, something that will be appropriate for her. So he recommends some memoirs to her, and he gave her. He also tells her that he's not going to be staying in Salem too long because he's going to go out. I guess, I don't know if it's California. He's going to go see his grandchildren and all of that. And I'm saying, why is this relevant? Why is Days putting this scene together with her and this guy? At first I thought it was they're pairing them together. Maybe it's a little bit too soon for Julie to be with anybody, but I liked how they were, talking back and forth with each other. But what's the point of this scene? That was my question. Like, if he's going away to California, like, what's the point of them having a scene together? He said something about the bookshop is going for sale, and she said that she's gonna look around for somebody who can probably buy it, right? Because he's, she's wishing him the best wherever he's going. And yeah, that's about it. But honestly, I didn't understand this scene. This whole episode was just like, I don't know. So back to Marlena. So Marlena is having a dream, I guess, taking her back to the Queen of the Night, and she gets up because, like, something is really wrong. So remember, Susan called it out and said she's having, a bad vibe about Marlena. So Marlena is also picking it up too, and she goes to the hospital. So Kayla's surprised to see her because she was supposed to be resting after she had that faint spell at the courthouse. So she said, yeah, I did go home and get some rest as Sarah suggested, but it's like, I need to have a meeting with another psychiatrist. So she said, can't you make somebody else have a meeting with that person? So she said, it's more from me. I am the patient. I'm feeling like something's wrong with me and my soul and everything. So she said, is he back? So she is referring to when Marlene was possessed a few times. So she said, no, I don't think so. But she tells her about the weird dream she had about being Queen of the Night, and how, it was traumatic for her with Stefan and everything. So Kayla said, I remember, I was there, and, don't worry about it. He's dead. He's not going to affect you in any way. So she said that she was going to go to the psychiatrist to figure out what's going on. And then Kayla said to let her know. So I guess an hour later, whatever, she comes to Kayla and tells her that, she still has a lot more questions than answers. So Kayla started to hear that, but she just wishes her luck with this thing, right? If they're gonna make this another scene with Queen of the Night and taking us back like the devil possession story, I'm really not here for it, because honestly, they should just like not revamp it. Let's get some new storylines. So Gwen already had a rough start to the day, and she comes in with the luggage, throw them down, and Tony said he looked like he could use a drink, so she took his drink. So anyway, she said she's looking forward to being back because of the, top shelf liquor and all of that. So he's happy to have her here, and she's surprised because she didn't think she would have a warm reception from anybody in the family. So he said that, you know, I'm cool with you here. I just have some questions for you. And she's like, is this personal? So I said, yeah, it's personal. I want to know about your time in Alemania. Like, where's Dimitri? Why hasn't he come to divorce you or, take interest in his fortune? So she said, I have no idea. Maybe he has other priorities, not concerning me at all. So he asked her about Stefan if she heard from him. So she said she told Gabby, like she told Gabby she haven't heard from him. But she's question him like, why does he care about either of them? Because the way how he treated them when they were there in Salem is like, they were not like, family members. They were like, last rate citizens, whatever, right? So anyways, he's saying, he has a controlling problem and he just wants to know what's going on in the family. And he also has to be watching his back because again, the mirrors are like that. That's their niche. They always stab each other in the back. And also coming from a business point of view, so she's surprised to hear he's back concerning himself about the family business. So yeah, she asked him, why is he interested? So he didn't tell her that information because again, it's none of her business, right? So Gabby comes over to the PI firm where Steve is at, and she has some business proposition for him. So she wants him to help her with, finding out some information over time the mirror. So he initially declined on that because again, it's too personal. He has nephews, he has a brother-in-law, also Stephanie's dating Alex, and she would feel a type of way for him investigating his family and the business. So she's saying that it has nothing to do with Stephanie, and I don't think Stephanie cared about Xander or Philip. So Steve is saying that she used to date Philip way back, but I don't think she cares. So Gabby's making her case about how he would be doing good for the community. Titan the Mirror as separate companies definitely hold a lot of power, but them together, it's a nightmare. So she's saying, he would definitely be doing the city of Salem a great service. And Steve said, you know what? Let's see the terms. So she's excited. She's saying, are you interested? So he said, yeah, like a challenge. So I guess Steve is on the case to find out more information about what's going on behind Time the Mirror. Kayla also called him back, and she said she went into Marlena, and she was telling him briefly what's going on. And she said, you know what, I'll take your advice. I'll come home earlier. Let's spend the day together since you have more wiggle room. So I said, no, I actually have a case, so you probably might be home earlier before me. So she said, don't be too late, and that was really it. Gabby also told him earlier about her intention that she just wants her company back, and he said there's other ways to go around it. So she said, no, not the years of litigation. I want this fixed now and like right now, right? So Marlena is back at home, and she's looking at the book she was reading to Rachel. And she gets a knock at the door. It's Julie. So Julie comes over. She says, is that bad time? So she said, no, I'm always happy to see you. So anyway, she said, what brings you here? I can see that you have your necklace back. So she tells her briefly, because it's a long story, that Doug redeemed himself, and that he brought back her necklace. So all is good, all is forgiven in their world. So she's happy to hear that. So she said, what brings you here? So she said, I was at the bookstore. I guess the bookstore name is Foster's, and she got some grief memoirs to give Marlena to help her, because she remembers how Marlena was there to help her and support her, and give her some useful advice and help her with the books and everything. So she just wanted to return the favor, because if anybody can understand what she's going through, it's Marlena, right? So she just wants to be there for her. And they were bonding, and Marlena appreciates the gesture, and that was really it. But today's episode was really like blah to me. It was nothing worth watching, honestly. I was just cruising through the scenes. The only interesting part was Julie and Gwen, and this new guy, this temporary one day guy's scene, honestly. So that was it, really. Comment below your thoughts on today's episode. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe to my channel. I will see you guys tomorrow.